Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Matt Rosenblum of Advanced Life Coach Marketing. Matt, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Gresh. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I appreciate having you. And what I want to do is just read a little bit more about Matt so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's been able to accomplish. And Matt is the owner of Advanced Life Coach Marketing, where he helps life coaches and wellness entrepreneurs build and grow their businesses. He's worked with meditation apps, self-help book publishers, mindfulness content hubs, psychotherapists, and various life coaches on marketing, strategy, and execution. His latest project is an online course that helps life coaches fill their practices. Matt, are you ready to speak to the IMCEO community?
I'm totally ready to speak, yes.
Awesome. Let's do it. So the first question I had is if we could learn a little bit more about your CEO story and what led you to start your business.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I studied philosophy in college, and I was used to thinking, differently about how to approach life. And when I studied that, and it was also mixed with psychology as well, everything I learned was teaching me how to be an independent self-starter and to basically design my life the way I want to. And, if you read these existentialist thinkers like, Nietzsche and Kierkegaard, it's all about taking responsibility for your life and creating a life that you design rather than letting someone else define it for you. And so I never really maybe in the back of my mind, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but it was really just a natural, the only possible thing I could do out of college was this is just how I work, and this is how I go about things, is that I need to self-start and I need to design my life instead of going the traditional route where, you go after a job or something. That just isn't really in my way of, that's not how I go about things. So immediately after college, I started freelancing and getting some content marketing gigs right out of school. So yeah, that was it. And then that led into that, those freelance content marketing gigs basically grew and then led to me wanting to have more of a niche. And so I created a content marketing consulting company that focuses on life coaches, and that's where I am now.
Awesome. It's always interesting how sometimes the universe kind of pushes you in the right direction of where you want to be. And of course, it takes courage to be able to not just listen to those kind of pushes and nudges, but actually to follow that path. So I appreciate you for, taking the step to do that. And I wanted to ask you and drill a little bit deeper and ask you a little bit more about what exactly you do to help serve your clients. What about the content marketing business? What are you doing to kind of help serve those life coaches and healthy CEOs?
Yeah, sure. So there's life coaches are basically what I'm focusing on, but there are, a few other types of companies like the self-help book publishers, one of my biggest clients that generates the most revenue for me. And for them, it's varied, but for them, I'm focusing on creating online courses and doing some email marketing and managing blogs. But for the life coaches, I'm helping them define a really solid niche so they can set themselves up for standing out later on. And then giving them really 2018 and beyond digital marketing strategies that work. So, what works in terms of digital marketing, what worked 10 years ago, what worked 5 years ago doesn't necessarily work today. So, these digital marketing tactics and strategies have to be constantly updated and tweaked for what works now and what will work in the future. So, I'm setting these life coaches up with marketing plans that work for today. And that's founded in creating a really unique niche that stands out, and then creating a blogging and YouTube strategy that works in 2018 and beyond.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, like you said, what worked 5 years ago, what worked yesterday sometimes won't work today. So you have to kind of be on top of it and make sure that you have, experts and people that actually, are kind of cemented in the industry and are paying attention to the trends and how things are moving so that you can make sure that you're ahead of the competition.
Totally. And it's some things work, but they work in different ways. Like blogging. 10 years ago, you could write 500-word articles and get ranked in Google. And now you have to really write, at least 2,000-word articles or more to even have a shot of ranking high in Google. So yeah, like what you're saying is totally right. Like things are constantly shifting and tweaking and evolving in the digital marketing world, and probably in every world. And so, yeah, you really got to keep track of these trends.
Yeah, it makes sense, or at least know somebody who does, which is
Yeah.
also just as important. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call your secret sauce. And this is something that you feel kind of distinguishes you or sets you apart. So do you have an example of a secret sauce that you can give of you and your business?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things. So very few digital marketing businesses focus on life coaches and the wellness like entrepreneur space. I mean, wellness entrepreneur space is a little more competitive, but life coaches especially, very few are focusing on that. But in terms of the tactics, the digital marketing tactics that I emphasize that few other people are, I actually really like offline. Like I like not just pure old school offline tactics, but meetup.com is like to me, that's a gold mine of a resource. It's it's not necessarily pure offline, but it's hosting a meetup group and then leveraging all of these meetup groups that happen to be going around, especially because I'm in New York City. So meetups are really popular around here. But, everyone's talking about Facebook ads and about Google ads and, like stuff like that. And I don't think a lot of people are emphasizing physical offline stuff as much as I am. So I think that's one of the things that sets me apart in the digital marketing broad space right now, aside from the fact that I'm focusing on life coaches.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I always said that, I feel like marketing is done at its best when it's not necessarily siloed, but you get the opportunity to build relationships, build connections, have that face-to-face like you do in those meetups. And then you also have, those other ways to kind of engage with people. So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's a really good distinguisher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you said it. You said it right. Like people don't realize that digital marketing alone might not get just doing just trying to sell through text and through social media. It only takes you so far, and you're leaving a lot on the table if you don't have any face-to-face element to your business.
Exactly.
So, although offline social media tools are great, email marketing is great, but yeah, it's combining them with offline that really makes them even better.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and ask you for what I call a CEO hack. And this might be an app or a book or a habit that you have, but it's something that makes you more effective and efficient as a business owner.
Okay, cool. So only actually recently I started doing this, and it's helped me be a lot more productive. So a while ago I read that at the end of the day, plan your tasks out for tomorrow. And I read that and I was like, yeah, like I get it, but I don't really, after a certain point, after 6 o'clock or after 7, I don't really want to think about work. So at the end of my day, I don't really want to sit there planning my tasks. And so I didn't do that. And just in the past couple of weeks, instead of doing it at the end of my day, like at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I've been doing that at the end of my work day. So like at 5 o'clock. And that's actually worked really well for me. So I'm planning out tomorrow's tasks at the end of my workday, and I'm time blocking those tasks. So I'm putting them in my calendar at all my tasks at specific times. And that's actually helping me be realistic about what I can accomplish in a day, and then have set times for each task that I'm doing so that I can be more on track about it. Yeah, so before I was just doing, the general to-do list productivity system, but now, I'm time blocking things and then planning it a day in advance. And that's actually helped a lot in terms of how productive I feel at the end of the day.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, having the opportunity to walk into that next day and already know what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it is huge, because you don't have to spend that extra energy, in the beginning of the next day trying to figure out what do I have to do? What can I knock off my to-do list?
Exactly. Yeah. It really helps so much. Yeah. That the whole planning thing, it takes a lot of time if you're doing it in the morning, and then you don't know what's realistic, what you can realistically accomplish in a given day, and until you really schedule it out in your calendar.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. If they're anything like me, sometimes we can overestimate what we can accomplish, and we have a tremendous to-do list. So you try to
Exactly.
make sure that you make it into something manageable so that you can have a good day.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think me and you are both really ambitious in that way. We want to get everything, all these things done. And sometimes, may not be realistic about
Exactly, exactly. You can't get a year's worth of work done in a day. I have to tell
it
myself that sometimes.
as much as we want to.
Exactly, exactly. So now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget, and this might be a word of wisdom or piece of advice or something that you would tell your younger business self.
Wow. Okay. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, I'm constantly learning new things, but if I'm thinking about, where I was when I first started freelancing, and I feel like I had to do all that stuff to get to where I am now. Um, um, I think I would have started automating sooner. So I would have started, and what I mean by that is like making content assets sooner, like working on, when I first started out, I wasn't really like writing articles on my website and doing like having these content assets like courses and email marketing funnels and just like YouTube and blog material. I did a little bit of that, but I didn't really go that deep into it. So if I started making like products, if I started trying to productize my consulting services sooner, and had like content marketing assets that went along with it, that I think that would have helped me a lot. And those take a while to really pay off. So it's the sooner the better when you're talking about content assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the sooner you start, the better.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, especially when you're doing, like you mentioned, going to those meetups or going to those different groups and you have that kind of content piece that can also build upon that great relationship that you have. Sometimes those are things that can kind of take everything over the level.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I also would have started hosting meetups sooner. I feel like that's an idea that intimidates a lot of people, but you don't really have to like put on this whole speech and this whole event. You really just have to facilitate a workshop for, even if only a couple people show up. That's actually a success, because those can be clients. I mean, if you're in a service business, like a couple people could be $2,000 clients, like, or a month or something. So not a lot of people really have to show up to your meetups. One to three starting out is fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all in what your goal is, because if you're trying to, bring those different clients on, those are people that may not have known you before. So get the opportunity to meet those people and they might see more value in it in terms of being able to go to a meetup and have that more one-to-one type of relationship rather than have, 100,000 people at a meetup group and they don't really get the opportunity to ask their questions.
Very true. Yeah, the intimacy adds another benefit. And like in meetups, the conversion rate of like you converting a client, your conversion rate is like 8 out of 10. Or not, 8 out of 10 people, if you're really intimate with them, you can convert 8 out of 10 people at a meetup. Online, that's 1 out of, that might be 2 out of 100 or something like that. So yeah, especially if you have that intimacy where you're only focusing on a couple people, that just makes your conversion rate even higher. So yeah, being small could be a plus for you.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is kind of the definition of being a CEO. So we're hoping to have different kind of quote unquote CEOs on this show. So I want to ask you, what does being a CEO mean to you?
That's a good question. And I think to me, it means taking ownership of what you're doing. And to me, that's every aspect of your life. Like, I think I'm very much like an integrated, like holistic thinker. And I think, you can't really separate your work from your life as much as like people like to talk about that. I try to take ownership of every aspect of my life, of my social life, of my health, of my business. And I think that's what being a CEO means to me is trying to own and self-author and be in control of every aspect of life as much as you can and systemize it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's a good reminder for all of us to kind of keep in mind. So, Matt, I truly appreciate you for taking some time out. What I wanted to do was pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and our listeners know and how best people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so I'm very open to email. If you want to visit me at advancedlifecoachmarketing.com, you can shoot me an email. Obviously, if you're a life coach, that's who I work with particularly. But more broadly, if you're a wellness entrepreneur, I've worked with meditation apps, self-help book publishers, as I've mentioned. And so just shoot me an email, and I'm very, very responsive. Or you can check out, if you are a life coach, you can check out my free niche training for life coaches. A lot of life coaches have trouble standing out, and this niche training actually helps you, prepares you for a standout life coaching business that really stands out in the crowd. And I have a free training on my website, advancedlifecoachmarketing.com. So yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to me, and I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you again, Matt. And what we'll do is we'll have those links in the show notes so that anybody can follow up with you, see all the awesome things that you're doing. I appreciate you, my friend, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
All right. Thank you so much for having me again. I really appreciate it.